So let it be written, so let it be done. This is Tabletop Terrors, and today we're going to be talking about motivated scenes. What am I talking about? Well, a motivated scene is the ingredient that I didn't realize I was missing from my adventures. It was like I was eating really bland food and someone showed me salt. It was the reason why I felt like all of my games kind of meandered and I didn't really know, and I had this plot in my head, and then when we would play it at the table, it would fall flat. And so when this was explained to me, I went, oh, that's what I'm missing. That's the salt that I needed. All the other things were there. I just needed to elevate that flavor. So, Jeff, what in the world is a motivated scene?
So a motivated scene is a term that's kind of been stolen from like movies and stage plays and basically anything that requires acting. Where if you look at the way that most movies and stuff are written, someone is always in the process of doing something. They always have something that they're trying to do. They're never just wandering around or just sitting still. There's always kind of a story purpose to whatever they're doing, or at least in most well-written things. So in a tabletop game, you can basically take that same idea of, as the game master, as much as possible, whenever you start a new scene, give the players something to do, something that they can take part in, rather than just asking like, okay, so we're in this city. Does anyone want to do anything? Anybody have anything to do? And just like hoping that somebody will present something forward, you can start to take a little bit of command. Now, you don't want to like take away any of their agency, so always give them a chance to sort of do what they want to do. But as much as you can, put an NPC that's going to ask them questions, or even if it's just as simple as like, so we're taking a downtime, we're resting, we're not like trying to accomplish any big thing, but we want to give people a chance to talk to each other in character and stuff, instead of just saying, you're at the campsite, does anyone do or say anything? To say like, all right, Tim, your character is here. You're unpacking some of the materials. You're getting your tent set up when you see James walk by. What do you say to him? What conversation do you guys have? Even just something as simple as that, it gives the players something to do and to take part in. And it gives a lot more chances for people to actually take those opportunities for like, what are we doing? What, when we just have time to do whatever. And it might facilitate conversations and events that might not happen otherwise. Or if there's an NPC nearby, to have the NPC walk up and ask a question about what the party's doing or why. Or if you're going to meet with a certain person, to like have that in mind of like, all right, you've gotten to the castle, you're supposed to meet with the king. What do you do? Rather than just, what do you do? And anytime you can get that just little bit of setup, it can do wonders to keep the game moving, to keep a sharp pace, and to not have quite so much dropped opportunities as far as like, I want my players to interact with each other more. I want them to go and do more stuff, but it just always kind of feels like they're waiting on me. You can just give them those little tidbits and it can add a lot more to the scene. So give players something to do in each scene, or something that's happening in every scene. Always have some sort of motion or action that you're aiming to hit in your scenes, and it can help a lot.
A phrase I've heard often associated with motivated scenes, and this same and a similar concept is something called in late, out early. And like Jeff said, borrowing a lot from television and movies and just general narrative structure. When to get in late and out early is to start as late as you can, even if that means in the middle of the action, and get out as early as you can once the scene is resolved, to be done with it, right? You can sort of abstract the rest of the scene by like, okay, then you guys leave. Like, you don't have to role play leaving. For example, Jeff, you were saying, oh, so you have to talk to the king, right? So we're on one side of town and we want to go talk to the king. Assuming there's not some big thing that you have planned in the middle, there's no reason not to start with. So as you walk up the steps and the guards open the door and you see the king sitting on the throne, one of your players might say, oh, well, I want to do this or that or whatever. But short of that, start at the doors. Start talking to the king. Start with the king saying hello to your players. The important thing is, we often give so much weight to the things in a game that don't move the story forward. And so later you may hear me say don't matter. And I want to be clear that it's not that these things don't matter and that these little role play moments aren't important. but there is a way to have the little role play moments, but also have the story move forward. And I think marrying those two things is a really big deal. And that's where getting in late, you walk up to the king and, he's talking to an advisor maybe, and turns and says, "Oh, I've been expecting you." You can save 30 minutes. And yes, the players may have had really cool role play in that 30 minutes, but you still have that same 30 minutes, really cool role play later. And if they're done talking to the king and they want to do something else, out early. You're like, all right, you're back at the pub where you wanted to meet to talk to the guy. You just cut an hour of your game out, of nothing happening, of it not mattering in a sense, but you get to spend that hour doing something else. So in late, out early, and in it early and late are a lot sooner and later than you'd expect. So if you think it's too early to start that scene, start it 5 minutes later, just in late, out early. It's I think, really good advice.
So for me, I'm going to start out with a DM tip, and then I'm going to roll into a player tip. But my DM tip is that I would always make these scenes in a vacuum without other people in them. So just adding people is a really easy way to make the scene motivated. And that is like the number one tip that I would give, is that you're the game master, so you're in control of the NPCs in the scene. So two NPCs can be arguing. And now automatically there's a lot of motivated stuff going on. Now, the players are still the heroes. They're still in the spotlight, because how they react to the argument and those kinds of things is entirely up to them. But if I just say, and I would do this all the time, like I say, these non-motivated scenes, what I realized is I was like putting my players on these like sterile movie sets that felt like sound stages. They didn't feel like worlds. And the minute I started adding other people to them, it comes alive. So if I say to you, okay, you're in a marketplace, there are all kinds of stalls and everything that you can imagine you can purchase here. Okay, cool, we're in a market. You kind of probably start to imagine that, okay, can I look for this? But if I say, you're in a market, there is the tallest woman you've ever seen. You're not exactly sure, but you think she might be an elf, and she's adorned in these silk robes that you've never seen in terms of quality. And she's softly singing and arranging these different swords, and things like that. Now all of a sudden, there is just vibe. You're like, oh wow, okay, would I know? And the party starts asking questions, and then you say, she calls out to someone across the street, asking if they found out where, his missing daughter was. Now you have there's stuff happening. This is a motivated scene. So if the players weren't doing anything, now they are. They want to know who this woman is. They want to know who the missing person is. So that is my trick, is just add people and make them motivated. And then don't gatekeep the party. Don't have your own little scene happen without the group, but make it so that there are these openings. And then as a player, my quick tip is find something in the scene to care about or connect with. Find something that motivates your character. And the groups that I play with are really good about this. So as an example, same scene, if your character is has connections politically, find a way, and you can just speak in plain English to the game master and say, hey, is there any kind of political significance to what this woman is wearing or the things that she is selling? And even if there wasn't before, as a game master, I will probably come up with something, because you're showing me that you're interested in that. You're showing me that you're caring about that, and I will make that connection for you. So I would say something like, well, actually, yes, these particular robes are so nice because she is wearing them in honor of an event in this region this week, or whatever, And now all of a sudden, in just this short description that I'm literally making up on the fly, you have a woman, she's selling these things, someone is missing, and there's an event happening in the region. These all feel like a scene. They feel like a story. They feel dynamic, and they're motivated, versus generic market. What do you want to do? So those are my tips. So that is motivated scenes. In the comments, what we want to hear is your motivated scene. Take a standard trope, a scene that is kind of, commonplace in any D&D game, any fantasy game, the throne room, the marketplace, and you can use either one of those, and then make it motivated somehow. Use one of these techniques, drop a person in there, maybe an event, something that happens, and show us your motivated scene. And I think that would be a lot of fun. We are Tabletop Terrors. We're all about fun, creativity, and of course, tabletop games. If you like that sort of thing, consider subscribing, and we would love to see your comments on the video. And we always end the video with a Tabtarian toast.
May you mend the first break.
May you kill the first snake.
May you conquer everything you undertake.
All right, now I think that to really make it awesome, you should go in late. So like start
your end card like 30 seconds in.
He left. I think you're doing out early too soon.
Yeah, too early.
Listen,
too early.
If you think it's too early, it's far too late, Bill. No, the dog was trying to let himself out of the room. The door was open a little, and he pushed it closed, and he was going to start scratching it like a jerk. Okay. So a good example, in my opinion, of a show that doesn't do motivated scenes very well, but was a very good show that I enjoyed a lot, was Gossip Girl. Because if you watch the show, at least the first season, because I suggested it to Cassie, I enjoyed the show, it's a great little drama, whatever, but the characters are never doing anything. They are constantly meeting up by corners just to talk to each other. Like, consistently. There's not even the guy at the bar cleaning the glass. Like, everybody's just like, oh, hey, crazy seeing you here. Did you hear what so-and-so did? And it's the most ridiculous example of unmotivated scenes ever. They get the story out, but I can no longer watch it.